Welcome to the Fantasy NASCAR podcast. Let's look at Truck Series optimal lineups for 2022. You can watch this podcast at any time to review to help you build better Fantasy NASCAR Truck Series lineups regardless of what race is coming. Maybe we can find some patterns. Maybe we'll find some familiar names or a repetition of trucks or a starting position that seems to consistently find its way into the optimal lineup. How many hogs or dominators, if you're stupid, do you need in your fantasy NASCAR Truck Series lineup? Hopefully, we will come away from this podcast with several answers. If you like the spreadsheet that you see in front of you, go to racefortheprize.com. Red box, top side of the screen. That'll take you to our Patreon. Brandon Cruz and I working to make you some content. Please contribute, and we'll share everything with you. That's patreon.com/Brandon Cruz DFS. Right, we're looking at Richmond. Most recent race. Now, if this is down the road, Richmond's the last one, deal with it. Maybe I will record another one of these, but just because Richmond wasn't 2 days ago, just because Richmond wasn't a week ago, doesn't mean that you should completely dismiss this podcast. We're going to go through the past. We're going to go through history. We're going to go through races that happened several weeks, maybe even months ago. If that is too old for you, if that data is irrelevant, then you don't know what you're talking about. So, yeah, I wish that I recorded this podcast 5 seconds ago. I wish that when you're recording this, it was immediately sung into your ears. That's just not possible. It's been recorded. Deal with it. Chandler Smith at Richmond. He is your winner. Chandler Smith, you go back to IRP the week before this. Really had a truck that absolutely could have won. Very good at the shorter tracks. Those are the places where he got most of his reps in the ARCA series. Looked really strong before COVID, and his whole career got paused. So it's not a surprise now that practice is back, now that KBM is back, to see Chandler Smith really tearing it up at these shorter tracks. Really seemed to have finally clicked last year for him at Phoenix, but it was already clicking before. He just got back in the groove. He definitely is in the groove now. I mean, he's doing well at intermediate tracks now. Anyway, optimal-wise, yeah, if we're at any track, Chandler Smith is on the board. But if we're at the shorter tracks, KBM is absolutely the team to target. Chandler Smith, for my money, at this moment, is the guy to go with, above John Hunter Nemechek. His arrow is pointing upward. I tweeted about this, I think, after his Richmond win, or maybe it's after the IRP win. Just, how good this kid is. You remember in 2019 playing him in Daily Fantasy NASCAR and just being awestruck by how stunning and fast this kid was out of the gates at a very young age. COVID happens, you take practice away, you've got changes within the Truck Series, just stalled his development. Many of us were worried, will he ever reach his potential? Absolutely, looks like he's going there. You look in the lower series, who in the Truck Series? Zane Smith looks really good. You can make an argument for Zane Smith. I like Chandler Smith for my money. The Xfinity Series, Noah Gragson, looks like he's finally coming into his own. Took him a long time to get there. But through the Xfinity, Ty Gibbs, obviously, but you're putting Ty Gibbs in a rocket ship every week. Of course he's going to look good. All right, Chandler Smith is your hog. Ty Majeski is a second hog at a short track with many laps. You're more than likely going to need two hogs. Very difficult in the Truck Series with the way pitting works and cycling works and pit crews work for one driver to completely control race. You're even able to afford an $11,400 John Hunter Nemechek, just gets you 5.5x, which is good. It's not great by any means at a really high price point. 16 fast lap points again, adding to the idea or the belief that KBM, the strongest when it comes to short track racing. Taylor Gray has had a pretty good season. Doesn't always get the good finishes. He almost won the week before at IRP. He was on that last on the front row for the second to last restart before he gets wrecked out by John Hunter Nemechek. Not that he deserved to be there, no, but he had put himself in a position where he could gamble at the end, and it wasn't even going to be much of a gamble. He was going to win that race. Had John Hunter Nemechek not just ran into him at the end when Nemechek realized his old tires weren't going to work and Taylor's slightly fresh tires were. Brett Holmes pulls through at 6,200. That's about the point where you really don't want to pay any more for Brett Holmes, but Brett Holmes starting 31st. I have to look and make sure what kind of truck he is. I'm assuming he's in his dad's truck. We have seen him occasionally jump in other equipment, but without looking, I would guess that's the case. Just a punt that works out, decent running position. And then let's see who is the ugly punt that slides in here. It looks like it's a Lawless Allen week, and it's usually a handful of drivers that you can choose from. You know, is it going to be a Jack Wood week? Is it going to be a Lawless Allen week? Is it going to be a Dean Thompson week? You name the niche truck, you name the Randy Young truck, you name the now crappy GMS trucks. Which one's the cheapest? Which one is the best point per dollar play? And it's Lawless Allen with a 4X. Not a really strong showing, but those are going to be something that you're probably going to see a lot here in the truck series as we go through these optimal lineups. Your punt may only get 3X. He's just there to be there. A lot of guys don't score points in the truck series because they just don't have the opportunity to score points. Matt Crafton's a perfect example of a guy who's going to start and finish pretty much in the same spot. I mean, he actually has a pretty good race here. He has 8 place differential points, but still at the end of the day, just 45 points at 8,700. He's a 5.3. Grant Enfinger, good truck series driver, capable of winning from week to week. And he did have a rocket ship at IRP and put together a really good race. He didn't have that same truck at Richmond, $9,300, and he finishes 4th. He starts 5th. You're not going to score any fantasy points that way. There's only a few. I mean, we see this all the time. But we'll double check with everybody else. So this was the Lawless Allen week. Let's go to IRP. Look at our build. So familiarize yourself with the names and the teams. Maybe find some patterns. There's Ty Majeski again being optimal the race before Richmond. We've got 2 short flat tracks back to back. Zane Smith ends up coming through with 18 place differential. That's because some of these guys have issues like John Hunter Nemechek, who pretty much controls the race. Chandler Smith just can't get around him. He piles up the fast laps, the laps led. He doesn't score the win because at the end he stays out. He's also involved in a spin earlier, but he recovers from that. But the last one at the end really hurts his chances. Gambling for the win, just doesn't have the car, doesn't have the tires. So he wrecks out. Those -9 place differential points, that's 9 points he loses from his finishing position. So there's -9. This should have been much higher. That opens the door for Zane Smith, who doesn't particularly have a good race at IRP, but he does everything he needs to do. Things fall in his favor. He finishes 3rd. I mean, look, average rank position of 13th. Rating rank is 9th. Not the greatest day for him, but he works out because place differential and this wreck at the end. Grant Enfinger is optimal. He leads a good portion of the race. He is very fast. He wins the race, 8,900. He is your second hog at an expensive level. Then we get Lane Riggs, the son of the former race car driver. I don't know what I think maybe he was in, I can't remember which guy. We looked it up. Not Larson. Was it Stephen Lane? I can't remember which truck he was in. Oh, no, he was in the second Stuart Friesen truck. Has a decent race. Finishes a lot better, though, mainly because of the cautions at the end. He ends up being one of the punts. There's Jesse Little. We talk about Jesse Little a lot. It's a Randy Young truck. He's very safe, very conscientious about his moves. Doesn't do anything stupid like, say, a Haley Deegan, who would be more aggressive, like, say, a Kaz Gralla trying to make a name for himself in a Randy Young truck. Gralla can work from time to time, but he's 7,200, and there's a lot of risk with a driver who's desperate to get another ride. Haley Deegan, $7,000. Maybe not desperate to get another ride, but she's kind of running out of time. She's got to start doing things. Jesse Little will be happy running trucks here and there, being a part of teams for the rest of his life, conserving equipment. He's making a name for himself right now in the same vein that Ryan Ellis in the Xfinity Series, Tommy Joe Martins has in the Xfinity Series of taking care of equipment. Respecting the equipment, respecting his team and his owner. And through that, he's going to get additional rides from these lower teams. I would not be surprised to see weekends where Tommy Joe Martins in the Xfinity Series can't completely sell his ride or sell a seat, that he says, all right, Jesse, we've seen what you can do in the truck series. Jump on in. Or BJ McLeod says, hey, all right, you take the car for a week. That's going to be Jesse Little's role moving forward if he can continue to have these safe, consistent runs. He had an average running position of 26, not good, but he's not wrecking his truck. And you just hope that the thing falls in his favor at the end. Obviously, 15 is way better than you could have hoped, but from 26 to, say, 20th, that wouldn't have been terrible. Starting 36th, 5,400, you were all over him. You know you were. Tyler Ankram's having a decent year. This is just one of those guys that slides in as your last play. You got the guys at the top that you like. You've identified your value. I did not identify Riggs. Should have. I missed on that one. Some of you got right. If you got Riggs and Little right, you remember my stupid Riggs rant, which basically I later then realized from my subconscious that it was a plot from Lethal Weapon. like, oh, Riggs, that sounds like an old cop name. And I can imagine that cop having to turn in his badge. Little did I know. Well, I mean, I did know. I'm like, wait a second, Riggs. Riggs is the name of Mel Gibson's character. Oh, yeah, that scene actually played out. I was reliving a scene that I had watched probably countless times. Lethal Weapon movies are great. Those are great. Great Christmas movies. You like Shane Black. All Shane Black's films take place. Iron Man 3, if you will. I don't know why I picked Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is a really good one. He's got plenty of good films. Tyler Ankram just slid in there, 5.4x. We're seeing it, kind of hate it, but there's Matt Crafton too. You got these 8K-ish guys that just kind of slide in, like, I don't like it. And then you rearrange your lineup because I ended up in no man's land with this 8K driver. I like my guys at the top, I like my guys at the bottom. Now I'm just picking a guy. Well, maybe you just got to do that. Let's go back to Richmond and see if the similar situation probably unfolded. You got Lois Allen as your super punt. You like your guys at the top. This week, no, it was a triple. It was 3 at the top and then 3 at the bottom. So Richmond, 3 at the top, 3 at the bottom, which I would understand going with 3 cheap plays at Richmond where we've got a lot of laps. I mean, that would also make sense at IRP, but you're getting a discounted Hog and Grant Enfinger that allows you to open up and get up to Tyler Ankram, and Jesse Little's not that expensive. All right, let's go back another one. Look at another optimal lineup. Familiarize yourself with the names and the teams and the patterns. All right, I didn't highlight it. Priest, Hill, Smith, Fogelman. Priest, Hill, Smith, Fogelman, and then Purdy, Honeycutt. Purdy, way down here to Honeycutt. This is Pocono, not very many laps, so a place differential play. Obviously gets a boost. You got Ryan Priest. We know what he has done in the Truck Series. Kind of a no-brainer right there. I know that in your mind thinking, I got to spend this money. I need Hog points. Maybe, possibly, but at a track like Pocono where there are very few laps, 60 laps in this race? 60 laps. That's not a lot of Hog points. So you're not really going to be too worried. You're going to target Chandler Smith, obviously, and get him in your lineup. But having Priest and Hill with all of these place differential points on the board, you just take it. You like both those plays. Chandler Smith. So we got 3 expensive drivers, so that means we're going to have 3 cheapies. One of these slightly cheaper are Tate Fogelman. He's starting 36th. The 8 paying $7,000 for Tate Fogelman. I'm assuming he was in a Randy Young truck. I don't have that data in front of me. Starting 36th, you can deal with it. You definitely can deal with it in hindsight, knowing that, well, I can afford these guys up here, so I will definitely deal with it. Chase Purdy, even more expensive than normal, starting 15th, finishes 11th. I couldn't do it, but you do want to take note of Chase Purdy running a little bit better for his GMS stable. I mean, there's Enfinger at top, then there's Purdy, and then Woods not running too terribly at the moment. Purdy's slightly getting better. Doesn't always run a complete race, but that team has moved forward a little bit. Not as much as we thought they would, but then again, we also believe that going back a couple years, GMS, this is a well-funded, strong team. It appears that last season, GMS started moving a lot of the money, maybe even in 2020. I think mainly in 2021, it appears, based on the Truck Series results, that GMS had shifted a lot of money to developing their Cup Series car, and now in 2022, it also continues to be more clear with 2 GMS Petty Cup Series cars, and with the performance of those cars with Eric Jones and Ty Dillon, that GMS has funneled more resources, if not all of the resources, we don't know, but it looks like from the results that the money is funneling towards the GMS Petty department and less to the Truck Series department. Caden Honeycutt, I don't even know who Honeycutt was with. Maybe GMS, maybe Nice. You tell me. Average running position of 22nd. Here's your punt. Just barely outscores Jesse Little by 3 points. Just barely outscores Lawless Allen. And these are the guys that just barely outscores Dean Thompson. These are the guys you're going to look at when you're building optimal lineups or trying to construct your lineups moving forward in that low 5K range. The Honeycutt, the Littles, the Allens, the Thompsons, the Nice trucks, the GMS trucks, and the Randy Young trucks. Never changes. Let's continue our work. I'm not going to look at Mid-Ohio. We'll go back to Nashville. Ryan Preece, again, wins at Nashville. Zane Smith, his quasi-teammate in a Ford. Gilliland Ford and the Front Row Motorsports Ford. I think there's a pretty strong alliance there. They're good at the intermediate tracks. They're good everywhere. Maybe they're a step behind at the short tracks compared to KVM, but you get them at your longer, intermediate-ish tracks. They're your faves. So far, 2 hogs. That's all you're going to get. Then you got Max Gutierrez, 28th place differential points. I'd like to see what truck he was in. Not sure off the top of my head. Majeski slides in with 8th place differential. But again, we've seen this before in previous lineups. We're spending $9K and only getting 5.5x. 7.9, 5.8x. That's that no man's land again, right? You find your punt that you are going to go with, which is Dean Thompson out of the Nice truck. Starting 24th, he pulls it off, gets a solid finish. You get your guys at the top that you like. You got another punt, and then you end up in this Tyler Ankrum range. You know, it's Ankrum, it's Crafton. Was it Ankrum twice? Yeah, Ankrum twice. You end up in that Ankrum Crafton range in the 8Ks. Don't really like it, but that's just where you're going to end up sometimes. And you just got to pick which one of these punts works out for you. Here it was Dean Thompson. You know, I probably would have gravitated more towards Colby Howard, starting 32nd at 7,500. I like the way those trucks are running, but it wasn't his day. It was Tyler Ankrum, starting 16th, finishing 5th, finishing a lot better than where he ran. Now, Howard also finished better than where he ran as well. Ankrum was the guy. It wasn't Crafton. He scored the 10th most fantasy points. It wasn't Howard.